the ending of this episode brings up a very interesting question. Did Emperor Gaz plan everything? That is the big question that is popped up at the end of this episode, because you have it to where the mage, the dude that is doing experiments, making Phala, he's making clones, artificial demi-humans, and stuff like that, he says that the Emperor's plan all along was for the two Chaikas to come there and save Niva, and get Niva out of there. So, the question that this brings up is, did the Emperor all along plan every single event? For instance, there's a lot of questions that wrap around Guy. The character Guy that appears magically out of nowhere with teleportation magic, he somehow knows all sorts of information, and he wanted these two Chaikas to actually go to the island. And the question is, like, what type of role does this character have? And I mean, what type of connection does this character have with the Emperor? And it makes you think, like, did the Emperor plan all this? Did he plan the Chaikas to go there? Did he plan the Chaikas to find out about this information that they're actually the fake daughters of the Emperor? I mean, did the Emperor plan this all? Is this all following according to his plan? That is the big question we have to wonder right now, because supposedly at the end of this episode, Toru, the Red Chaika, and White Chaika's group has a little confrontation at the end of this episode and states maybe God's plan all along was for us to kill each other. Like, one of us would kill each other and the other would survive on. And that's what Toru actually suggests in the end of this episode. So, clearly, this might be following the Emperor's plan. Like, his entire vision, what he wanted to accomplish after death, most likely everything is going according to plan. Now, one thing I will say is that in this episode, we have a little bit of setup for the next arc. We get actually a little bit of talk about a tournament coming up in another land, and that this tournament is going to be offering up a remains of the Emperor, and that's going to be pretty much the prize. And the thing is, you have a bunch of these different warriors and stuff that are going to be coming in trying to get the prize, and actually to get the prize, you can kill each other. So it's going to be a very interesting tournament, I'll tell you that right now. So that's exactly where I think the next arc is going to take place, and debating on, since this is like the 5th episode, if I'm correct, this is the 5th episode, and this series is only going to have about 11 episodes, if I'm correct. It's going to have 11 or 12 episodes, and so most likely the tournament type section arc that we're probably about to get into might be the final arc that concludes Hitsugi no Chaika Season 2, because I have been told by a couple Chibits last week, actually, when I asked a question about how many episodes to be and would this actually conclude this season, a bunch of Chibits told me, actually, yeah, it will conclude this anime season, because the final novel, the light novel of Hitsugi no Chaika, supposedly, from what I found out last week, is coming out, and supposedly this series, Hitsugi no Chaika Season 2, is supposed to adapt the final light novel. So, I don't know if that's true or not, I don't know, but if it is, that's pretty interesting how Hitsugi no Chaika will end this season completely, because you'd feel like the overall story, the way the world is, there's a lot more information to be told, and it felt like, you know, there could be so much more story, so, I don't know, I really don't know. But overall, the episode, the main focus is the ending conclusion of getting off the island, Chaika, Red Chaika, and White Chaika trying to escape the island, and getting to see the teamwork between them. I was actually incredibly shocked to see how well they work together in this episode. I mean, ever since the first season when these two teams squared off against each other, I think it was episode 4 or whatever, and the last season when they squared off, I've always wanted to actually see them work together, and to actually see them work together and battle these Phala and these demi-humans coming in, that was just incredibly badass. I love the animation, that overall scene. Looked really freaking good, I'm gonna be honest, it looked really freaking good, and the overall, the way how every single character had their own spotlight in this episode when they were fighting, definitely made me a lot happier. Now, one big question pops up in this episode too. Besides the entire bit with the Emperor, we have another question that pops up. Niva. Niva was introduced last week. In the last episode, Niva was introduced to supposedly be created. It was an artificial being, as we saw, and was created, and then it responded to Chaika when Chaika entered the room. Well, in this episode, we were given the information that Niva is actually like a combined being of all the Phala and demi-humans that were on the island. It's a combined being that's artificially made. And the thing is, it brings up, like, is Niva good? Because at the end of the episode, she says this dialogue line to Chaika saying, "You will collect all the remains." That's exactly what Niva says, so that's the question. Is Niva good? Is Niva bad? Well, we have to wonder this right now. I mean, is Niva just, once again, another pawn in the Emperor's plans? Overall, though, the episode is very good, enjoyed it a lot, and I didn't really notice any animation dirt compared to last week's episode. That dirt, when you saw Toru just leaning up against the stone wall. Oh my god, I laughed my ass off. But I didn't see much animation derps in this week's episode, so tell me your thoughts in the comments below how you felt about this week's episode of Hitsugi no Chaika. Love you all so much. Please be safe. Chibi out.